a summer mission program in Jordan, the importance of religious liberty, East Asian religions, and a young doctor working in Nepal. That and a lot more coming up next, right here on this program. Hello and welcome to the program, coming to you today from Annapolis, Maryland in the United States. Here at the waterfront there is this statue of Alex Haley, a famous American author who wrote the book Roots. And in this book he goes back through his family history way back to a slave ship that landed not too far from here. And on that ship was an African man who was sold as a slave. The themes in that book of freedom, of family, of history will be explored in today's program as we look at the importance of religious liberty, as we look at how can we build bridges to people of other religious traditions. But first up, let's travel to Nepal and visit a young Adventist doctor.
My name is Bradley Cacho. I'm a fourth-year medical student at Loma Linda University School of Medicine, and I'm here for a month-long rotation in Nepal. One of the draws about Loma Linda University, and one of the reasons why I came there for medical school, was the possibility to do mission work. And they have a long list of different countries where Loma Linda, they have hospitals that they're affiliated with in all over the world. And so two friends and myself, we knew we wanted to go on a trip before the year had ended, before we graduated. So we went through the list and we saw Nepal, and all I knew was that Nepal was north of India and it was where Mount Everest was. You can see the religion permeating through the culture here in Nepal, where it influences the kind of dress that the people wear, what they put around their eyes. They have eyeliners that help ward against evil spirits, that sort of thing, and there are temples everywhere and shrines everywhere of the different Hindu gods. Oh, it was definitely a growing experience. I feel like every hurdle that we experience on our trip and every new experience that we have here, it helps me and the rest of my friends to grow, not only as a person, but as a physician and as a Christian. I would say that the best thing that ever happened to me on this trip was we had the opportunity to go camping for a weekend with the Pathfinders. And the couple months leading up to this trip, I had been feeling kind of stagnant in my Christian walk. You know, I do the lesson study, I try to do it diligently, but I hadn't really had a lot of opportunity to share that. So coming to this trip, initially it was hard because we were in the medical setting and we didn't have a lot of evangelistic type things going on. But when it came to the Pathfinder camping trip that we had the opportunity to be a part of, it really helped us realize the reason that we come and do missions. And you know, part of it is the medical aspect, sure, but even more so it's the relationships that we make with the people here. And you know, they see how Christians, how Adventist Christians are in America, and they really look up to us here. The children, they look up to us, and it's a really big responsibility that I am glad that we were able to have, because it really helped each of us grow as Christians.
Like this. Look, no.
I've seen Jesus in numerous aspects of this trip. These people, they rely on prayer so much. It's part of their being. Here, they rely on God so much, and it just really impressed me to try and do the same when I go back home. If I had to tell people about Nepal, first off, I would say you need to go to Nepal. Like, you definitely need to visit Nepal because it's one of the most beautiful countries I've ever visited, and the people are some of the nicest people I've ever met. I got to meet all sorts of people. I got to be immersed in a whole new culture that I was previously ignorant of. So in that regard, it was a great experience. It's been awesome. I would just want the World Church to pray for the leaders and for the people to keep on enduring and to keep the faith and to be able to share what's so great about the gospel with the people of Nepal.
My guest is my friend and colleague Anis Abdel Noor. Anis, thanks for joining us. And Anis, you work in the Treasury Department of the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. But where are you from originally?
I come from the country of Jordan in the Middle East.
Jordan. Now that's a fabulous country. How long have you been away from there?
I have been away from Jordan for almost 40 years.
Wow. But Jordan is still has a very special place in your heart.
Jordan, it carries a special place in my heart, and I would always like to go back and visit.
Yeah, and recently you did that, and you were involved in a mission project back in your homeland that was actually funded through mission offerings given by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Tell us about that project.
Yes, absolutely. I connected with Elder Homer Tricarton from the Middle East Union, and he connected me with the East Mediterranean Field and the workers, the youth pastor in Jordan, and we arranged several projects which were focused on community service, outreach, and building relationships, utilizing the youth and the country of Jordan.
Wonderful. Now, we don't have many Seventh-day Adventist members in Jordan. How many would we have?
I would say about 250 people.
250 people in a population of?
Almost 6 million, if
Yes.
I'm correct.
Yes. And so what you have here is a group of Adventist young people involved in service. Describe the sort of things that they did.
What we did, we first distributed food supplies in 3 large cities in Jordan: Irbid, Zarqa, and Madaba, near Mount Nebo. And what we did, we went door to door in poor neighborhoods, and we passed food supplies. And most of the people we have distributed food to were Syrian refugees who live in Jordan.
Oh, they'd come across the border.
Yes, exactly. And they absolutely own nothing. Some of them sleep on the floor, and everything they need, they are dependent on others for survival.
Mm. And what sort of response did you get?
It was highly accepted and very much appreciated. As we went to these homes, we prayed with each family, and they thanks, and they knew that we came from the Seventh-day Adventist Church, but they accepted it very kindly.
Mm. How did it affect the young people who were involved in the project?
It really has motivated them, because really this is the first mission project of this type in the country of Jordan.
Mm.
And they said, we would love to do it, and we would love to even do it more in the future on an annual basis, on a larger scale, and also add more features to it.
Mm. So there was going door to door helping the Syrian refugees. Were there any other aspects to the project?
There were other aspects. We visited a center for disabled children. And so the youth and some of our children of the church in Jordan joined us, and we went to the center. We distributed blankets and other supplies to the children who reside at the center.
Mm. And the Adventist church leaders in Jordan, when they saw what happened with the project, how did they respond?
They really appreciated that very much, and they said, we need this type of outreach in Jordan, so it will help, have the membership grow in Jordan in future years, because here we are doing things to help
Yes.
the population of Jordan.
Show me a picture. I think you have some pictures here.
Yes,
Anis?
absolutely. I'll show you a few pictures of what we did in Jordan. Some of the center children, the disabled children that we have helped.
Now, who are the people in the blue shirts?
Okay, these are the disabled children who
Okay.
reside at the center.
Ah,
And this is the youth pastor in Jordan
yes, and
and
there
his
you
wife.
are.
And this is me. And this is also another person who is not an Adventist,
Yes.
who his organization helped donate some blankets
Oh, very nice.
for the church in Jordan to pass to people there.
Okay.
And some more of this. And we have other picture with the center founder and general manager. And the reason he founded this center, because at an early age his child became disabled.
Ah,
So it was on his heart to found this center, and he is the one who invited us to come back for not only for financial support, but for moral support.
Wonderful.
Yes, definitely.
Anis, I know that you traveled over there at your own expense. How did it affect you being involved in this project?
It really impacted me a lot. I always had interest in doing mission work, because that's how I grew up. That's how my mother trained me and my brothers and sisters. But another reason that impacted my passion toward mission is the Urban Mission Conference that was held at the General Conference about a year ago.
Yes.
Had even motivated me more to go, to the point where I don't mind doing this type of mission projects every year and use my vacation time to be of service to humanity and to the Lord.
Fantastic. Anis, thank you so much for sharing with us today. And viewers at home, find opportunities where you too can get involved, just like Anis. Don't go away. We'll be right back right after this break. Welcome back. Next up, a fascinating interview in Bangkok, Thailand.
Thanks a lot, Gary. Here with me in Bangkok, Thailand is really a group that represents history. It's good to have you gentlemen with me, and happy that we have over 20 years of the history of the Buddhist Study Center here. Starting with Clifton Maberly, who was, I think, the very first of the directors of the Buddhist Study Center. Cliff, what was it like when you first got here, and what kind of work did you do?
I was very daunted with the task, because we hadn't had one before, and we really didn't know much about Buddhism at a high level. So I decided to start the center off right at the center of Buddhism, next to the Buddhist University, and attracted probably 50 or 60 Buddhist monks per day into the center, and we just listened and talked and listened and talked, and gradually began to understand what Buddhism was at that level.
So the monks actually came to you, and you could exchange ideas and learn a lot.
They came and worked in our study center. Wow. And discussed things among themselves, and we discussed things with them as well.
How long were you here?
7 years.
And in that time, it wasn't just in Thailand, there was other projects and places that you had a
No,
influence
as
in.
I learned what Buddhism was at that level, I used to do seminars and workshops in probably 10 of the Buddhist countries, different places here and there.
Well, and next to you is Scott Griswold, who was here for some time too. When did you come, Scott?
Came in 2002.
So you followed Cliff, and what was the focus of your ministry during the 10 years or so that you were here?
Well, with him working closely with the level of Buddhist monks, we felt a real need to work at the local level where most of the Buddhist people are, where they don't know as much, but they still have that background that's very much in their mind, and it affects strongly the way they're thinking about the message they're hearing, the Christian message. So a need to try to help our church wrestle through how do you speak to somebody who's not from another Christian background, but somebody who's really has that Eastern mind type of thinking.
So did some resources come out of that?
We started working on Bible studies, on health approach, different ways of trying to share. We ended up with materials like something we call Bridge of Hope that starts with no knowledge of God, no knowledge of the Bible, and then builds to an understanding of the basic Bible truths.
It sounds like an approach where we're meeting somebody where they are, which is a devout Buddhist, but we're actually trying to carry them through not only devoting their life to the Lord, but actually to be disciples. And there's a lot of gaps in there from what we usually have, create materials for. So where are you at now?
Back in the United States, where Buddhism continues to grow and where people from many Buddhist countries are moving, and continuing to call people to be involved, to think about the incredible beauty of the gospel of Jesus and how it can be attractive to Buddhist people.
And now next to you is Greg Whitsett, and Greg was the one that followed you in the center. And tell us a little bit about what's going on right now with the Center for East Asian Religions.
Well, I have the advantage of building on the progress of my predecessors, and I'm indebted to the lessons learned over the years. As I kind of looked at it and my experience and how, where do you begin, where do you add, it came to the idea that really maybe it's a good time to survey where people are seeing needs are, the leaders across the region here in Asia. What are the issues that remain to be addressed or that we need to continue to emphasize if we are already, but need to keep that at the forefront? And so we're doing something exciting in that we're inviting people to share their ideas about what the issues are, present those together in our annual conferences, and try to get more voices involved in addressing those so that we can be more effective.
Well, and even as we speak, there's quite a group that has gathered to have this conversation. And what's the specific emphasis this year?
Yeah, I'm very excited. We have about 100 leaders from across Asia here focusing on the topic of ministry to mourners, reaching our East Asian brothers during a time of funerals, of grieving over the death of loved ones. And this is actually perhaps the most important ceremony or ritual in the Eastern religions. It could be compared to Christian baptism. So, but of course, it's a universal human issue, death. And then how do we deal with our differences and minister to people?
Oftentimes, it's one of those key moments where a person's heart may be open. And if we can be appropriate in how we respond to their grief, we may be able to help them. Huh?
Exactly, that's
Yeah.
right.
One question for each of you. As you look forward now, what would your prayer be, your hope for ministry over the next few years, months and years?
Well, the fact that we're all three here shows that we really need to continue to engage all people who have a burden to share Christ with our East Asian brothers and sisters. And so what I see in the future is a greater unity, working together, and realizing that the problem is bigger than any one of us. We need to pull together.
Spending time looking at how to word our message for Buddhist people has made the message that we have come alive so much more to me. And so it's my hope that as the church continues to look at their neighbors and figure out ways to reach out to them, that they will find and experience a deep revival of their walk with God and their understanding, and be able to share it powerfully until it's finished.
I moved to Korea in order to be able to help them reach out to Buddhists, but they didn't and haven't. And I put my spurs up on the hook and haven't really thought much about Buddhism for quite a while, just preparing Koreans to be missionaries. But Greg is dragging me back into this world, even though I'm off to Egypt now to get to be familiar with Coptic Christians and Muslims, I don't think he's going to let me go. So he's still going to squeeze everything out of me that he can get. So I think he's the one that we're going to look to for the future of this project.
Gentlemen, Cliff, Scott, and Greg, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Gary, back to you.
Religious liberty is something that's easy to take for granted, but in many parts of the world it doesn't even exist. Religious liberty is a fundamental human right, and it's something that is worth fighting for.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church has an active missionary presence in over 200 countries and territories. But around the world, religious hatred exposes itself in countless ways. If anyone says, "I love God," yet hates his brother, he is a liar. For anyone who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love God, whom he has not seen. Unfortunately, men never do evil so completely and cheerfully as when they do it from religious conviction. But we hold true that religious liberty is a God-given right. The end of law is not to abolish or restrain, but to preserve and enlarge freedom. For in all the states of created beings capable of law, where there is no law, there is no freedom. We believe in the natural and inalienable right of freedom of conscience, to have or not to have a religion, to adopt the religion or belief of one's choice, to change religious belief according to conscience, and to manifest one's religion individually or in community with others. Nevertheless, it's evident that freedom of religion is increasingly under attack around the world, diminishing our ability to pray, worship, and share the love of Christ with others. We sometimes see religion twisted in an attempt to justify hatred and persecution against other people just because of who they are or how they pray. But to harm anyone in the name of faith is to diminish our own relationship with God. Every faith is a candle we light in the public domain. A little light drives away much darkness, and no one else's candle diminishes mine. But if we all light our candles together, we can turn a dark world into one full of light. And that is why working together for the cause of religious liberty is so fundamental and so precious. In support of our efforts to defend religious liberty for all people around the world, we ask that you pray, that you write, and that you rally, because the world is a dangerous place, not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on today's program, coming to you today from the beautiful city of Annapolis here in Maryland. Please continue to pray for the people and places that you see on this program. Frontline mission work can be exciting, it can be a wonderful experience, but it can be challenging, and at times it can be lonely and discouraging. So it's encouraging to know that there are people praying for you. Before we go, I'd like to offer you the free Global Mission Calendar. This calendar is filled with wonderful images from around the world, and it's a terrific daily reminder to pray for mission. So if you live in North America and you'd like a free copy of the Global Mission Calendar, just contact us now. That's it for today's program, and I hope that you can join me next time right here on Mission 360.